Spring is almost gone. Summer is soon to be born. COVID will hopefully be done. Hi guys, welcome to our YouTube channel.
Don't leave me.
So guys, you want to plan a Euro trip, you are not sure where to start from. This video is for you. We are going to talk about how we planned our Euro trip, and please watch to the end because every bit is important. And also don't forget to subscribe to our channel,
Like and share this video, and please watch to the end because we have a lot of details that we would like to cover, which will really help you in planning the next vacation. So for the rest of this video, we'll be talking about the when, the where, and the how. I mean, these are like the three pillars of the planning for like every trip. So we'll start with the when. The when is like, when do you plan to travel, right? So last year when we traveled, we went in like midsummer, so like late July, early August, and it was fun. So there are perks to traveling at different times, right? So if you travel in midsummer, you'll be looking at very good weather. It's warm. You can take off your shirt, go across Europe.
but then there's sunburns as
Yeah,
well.
so sometimes you get really tan.
For
like,
instance, Italy was really hot.
yes, we're like
Hotter
having-
than I have ever seen in Ghana or Nigeria, trust me.
For real, like we ran out of one museum in the Vatican.
Yeah.
Like we really ran out of it because we were told you can't come in with anything that doesn't cover your shoulder and knees and everything, right? So that's another gist. But then there's a good part of not traveling in summer, right? So one of them is the prices, right? So you get like good hotels at affordable prices compared to like when you're booking it in summer. So you remember in
Santorini, the hotel we booked in Oa, during summer, it is 180 euros per night.
So about pounds, 180 pounds.
Pounds rather.
Yeah.
Yeah, crazy.
So the peak
But
price.
then the peak price is 180 pounds,
Right.
and then the off-peak price that somewhere in October is 110 pounds. So 70 good pounds difference. 70
night.
pounds difference per night.
Salary.
Yeah. So these are, some of the differences: booking in summer, booking off summer. Off summer usually cheaper prices because less demand.
And it really affects everything you have to do. So if you're going to go like rent a quad bike or whatever, like in summer where there are a lot of people, a lot of tourists, they are like really overbooked. I remember we booked one for 3 times the price because we really wanted to have the quad bike experience in Santorini.
Yeah.
Right. So these are one of the things. But then the weather is one of the things, right? If you're going to travel in off-peak period, you have to be sure that you're doing it on the border of the off-peak period, right? So such that you don't get too cold and you're able to like take cool pictures without having to wear like puffer jackets. Then another thing is traveling in summer can be very annoying, like tourists everywhere. You're trying to take a selfie and then someone's spot belly is like showing us. You can't really get the scene, you can't get the view because like there's big crowd. You go to Eiffel Tower for instance and you just see like people around. You won't even get like the proper view to get a neat picture. So which is one of the problems with traveling in summer or like in peak period. So the prices are there, like a lot of crowd, places are overbooked. And it also depends on when you get leave from work to travel.
Yeah, that's
After
also
everything
important.
we just said, now if they don't give you leave, forget it.
So the next thing is to decide where you want to go. What we first did was to compile our wish list. We had a number of cities and countries we wanted to visit. So we wanted to go to Prague in Czech Republic, Vienna in Austria.
Right.
We wanted to go to 4 cities in Italy: Milan, Venice, Rome, and there was another one I can't remember. What was the name? And then we also wanted to go to Santorini in Greece.
Oh yes, that was like our dream, like honeymoon kind of
bucket
place.
list kind of place.
Yes.
And Amsterdam in the Netherlands, Valencia in Spain,
Yeah, Budapest. was
Budapest
also one of
as
the things
well.
on our list.
So then these were our wish list, but then we could not go to all of these places.
So yeah, so basically, you can't have it all right. So we had to map out everything we wanted to do. Like, so we had like this tool she discovered, the EU Rail Mapper, which is also how we traveled eventually. We built a list on EU Rail Mapper, which kind of helped us draw like a visual, um, diagrammatic view of all the cities and like how long you're going to spend in there. You know, you're able to like add one city and then add the next and specify how many nights, you know. So it's a very, very good tool, and that really helped us because we're also going to travel by rail to map, you know, the nearest neighbors. It's okay from Prague, the nearest city for us based on where we're going would be like Vienna, right? So I went to Vienna, and then we said, okay, the next one would be in Italy, right? And then we said, okay, the closest border city from Vienna is XYZ, right? So that tool is very good and really, really helped us to determine how we were going to travel and the order in which we were going to travel. So after shortlisting this, we shortlisted based on this geographical, we also shortlisted based on budget, right? So you also want to consider like, you know, how much money you have to spend and how long you're going to spend in each one of these cities, right? For some of the cities, like Zurich, for instance, for us was a one-nighter.
Yeah, we spent one night in Zurich, and that was because it was a very expensive city.
Yeah.
It was not necessarily on our wish list, but then we had to pass through Zurich because we wanted to move from Italy to Berlin.
Yeah.
And so we did one night in Zurich.
And
But
man,
yeah,
the hotel they gave to us, 120 euros. If you see the wooden staircase hotel that has standing fan in it, right? You know, because this place is crazy expensive, right? So this was like one of the cheapest hotels we got for like 120 euros. Compared it to like Prague, where we got a very, very nice apartment.
very big apartment,
An apartment
for about
like
50
40
euros.
something, like 48 euros.
Yeah.
Like self-contained, like apartment, everything is inside, big TV, you know, good city
Big
view,
space.
a nightclub across the street,
Right
city
in front of
center.
the hotel, you walk to a nightclub, city center, like central, really central. On the average, we think that you should spend 3 to 5 days in a city, even though there are some exceptions like the Zurich one we mentioned. But then typically for almost all cities, you want to spend 3 to 5 days because you don't want to spend too little days to miss out on some good stuff. So I think the next important thing under the where to go is to decide your start city. So for us, we were in Berlin, Germany.
Right.
At the time we decided to go on this Euro trip. And so our start city was Prague because Prague was the nearest on our list to Berlin. So if you are coming from Africa, for example, you might want to consider
Visa options.
So
flight
which
options
city
as
has
well.
the easiest
countries.
to get visa?
Yeah.
Flight options, which city has maybe the
Cheapest flight.
or the most comfortable flight based on your preference. Yeah.
For this next section, we'll be talking about the how. And first things first is how would you get there? I mean, you have a list of cities you want to visit. You know the order in which you want to go. But man, you won't trek, right? So you have to decide, right? If you're going to fly or you're going to go by the rails. When we traveled last year, we went by the rails, right? We entered train, and it was a wonderful, wonderful experience. But I mean, there are the pros and the cons which we're going to discuss. And one of the things you have to realize with flying, as much as you know it's nice and everything, like you know, there are the perks for flying. Traveling by rail has one very good advantage, which is it takes you straight into the city center. Right, you just enter Milan like you're in the center of everywhere. As soon as you leave the train cell, you just go. You know, you can start your sightseeing from there.
Yeah, exactly. You can just pull your suitcase or whichever bag you
Straight
have,
up.
pull it straight up to your Airbnb or your hotel or your apartment, and that was our experience most of the time.
And the good thing then was that you were always booking like apartment or accommodation that was very close to the train station, which is also very close. So we find ourselves leaving the train station and just dragging our suitcase straight to the apartment. We don't even maybe even need an Uber.
Yeah.
Unless the time we had like that heavy bag and it almost died. Scratch that. Right. So that's one good thing about trains that you won't get with planes, right? Most times airports are located on the outskirts, like outside the city, because for obvious reasons, right? Aviation rules and all that things. Flying is a different ballgame, right? You would think that it's faster, but when you consider the time that you have to get to the airport, do the security checks, you're standing on your feet all along, you do the boarding and now all the whole boarding, whatever. So let's even assume you have
and then you wait
priority.
in the plane.
Even with priority, you go still wait for that, and then you wait in the plane,
Wait in
then
the plane
take
for some time.
off, landing.
And all those checks
Yeah,
after you
security
land
checks,
as well.
you know, COVID checks and all that things that, you know, all the protocols before you realize you're almost spending even more time than you would have just sat down in your train and then just chilled and relaxed and maybe even book like a premium coach like we did at some point when we were going from Milan to Rome.
Yeah, so basically the trains are good because there is no luggage limit like there are for the airplanes. You can carry 5 or 6 or any number of luggage you want to carry. Just don't do that because that is going to make your city trekking very difficult.
Yeah, it's going to get you stressed.
Yeah.
But you have like, you don't have that luggage limit that you have with most like plane tickets. And know if you're traveling within Europe, most of the tickets are like on, they assume you're going to use this small plane, so you just come with your little handbag. You're traveling light, right? Like EasyJet and the rest.
Yeah.
But for train, you can carry like your neighbor's gari, rice, everything you want to bring.
So then also with the train, I mean, the train is not like just sitting down on a seat like a bus and then moving. There are very comfortable sitting train with tables where we were able to work even in the train at some point. There are food, there are restaurants in the train where you can go and buy food, drinks, anything you want. Very like cool washrooms.
One caveat though, for the trains, ensure that you have reservation, strictly by reservation trains. There are some trains you find within the EU that are just, you know, you don't have to reserve, just walk in, take a seat. But then sometimes it can get very nasty.
Yeah.
Right. So when you have those trains that enforce reservations, you have to pay maybe an extra 10 euros for reservation, but it's really, really worth it. Because when you don't have those reservations, trust me, when you have people standing everywhere, like it can get nasty when you start getting into some. I mean, when we were coming back to Berlin, we had that experience. It was an 8-hour train. People were standing, and somebody is sneezing, someone is tired. The train is swinging left and right, and someone's knees budging into your elbow, and you know.
Yeah. So then just make sure that you reserve for the train because it is not that much like to reserve in terms of money. So then another thing that is worth sharing will be how much we spent using train to travel to all of these cities we travel to. So on average, each of us spent 350 euros using the train, and that was because we booked
What's the EU rail?
So we bought the EU rail 2 months travel ticket
with about 15 trips or so.
Yes. So it is a ticket that gives you the opportunity to travel within a 2 months period. With a maximum of 15 trips, right? And that was for 350 euros. And we compared it to what it would have cost us if we were using planes to travel from city to city, and that was 1,100 euros per each of us.
And you also did the comparison of like booking the train on the fly. So there's another option of, okay, I'm traveling to Prague, let me book the train, right? And you'll be paying like maybe 80 euros or whatever, compared to buying that EU rail pack. That's it's like subsidized, and then you can always just open the app and just get a new ticket from your reserve.
Yeah, so it was easy to buy the EU rail pack for the 2 months rather than booking each city per city as and when you want to go on the flight.
Okay, so one more point here, right? When we were planning our routes, we wanted to also go to Santorini, like we mentioned earlier.
At all costs.
Yeah, so no matter how, if we don't go anywhere, we'll go Santorini. And then we realized that we can't, it's not easy to travel to Santorini by road or rail, right?
Because
so we have to fly.
Island.
Yeah, so you have to go through some bridge. That the hurdle was like big. So we decided to fly. But flying from Italy, we realized we couldn't go to any of the cities we had on our list, so we added Napoli. Right, Napoli was very, very close to Santorini by flight, and it was like maybe 60 euros for a return ticket. And that was a very good deal. So we took the next train to Napoli. We got there, but we had this plenty big load, right? So what we had to do was to drop half of our luggage in the Airbnb or the accommodation in Napoli.
Yeah, so the owner of the Airbnb was kind enough to keep our luggage for us. And we traveled to Santorini, came back, picked our luggage from Napoli,
and then continued the rest of our journey on Israelite journey on foot.
On rail.
Foot.
On foot.
It's not the same thing.
another important thing is to book your accommodation. Where are you going to stay in all of these cities?
On that bridge.
And how we did it was we looked for accommodation that had a kitchenette. We wanted more or less like an apartment or an apart hotels. Averagely, it cost us 50 to 60 euros per night per city. And one important thing that we did was to make sure that for the bookings that we booked in advance, they always had free cancellation, which means that we did not need to pay and commit. And this helped us with spontaneity, whereby we could extend our stays in certain cities, and then we can cancel reservations that we have made in cities we're going to visit next, and then maybe change the date, right, based on how things go about. Now, another thing is that we booked reminders in our calendars to remind us of the deadline for the free cancellation, because once the deadline is over, they are going to take it from your card.
Like legit, I have been in that situation where I forgot to cancel, right? And then I had to. So one way you can actually private chat. So if on booking.com, for instance, you can private chat the apartment or the hotel and beg them, please waive cancellation fee for me. I had COVID. I didn't have COVID then, but yeah, it was a very good excuse then because a lot of people were coming down with COVID. So you could just say, please, I had COVID, I can't travel anymore, I'm self-isolating, I'm a close contact. Please help me. Because cancellation fees can be brutal.
There's also another hack, right?
Oh, yes. Okay, let me talk about that. So another thing you can do, so then I didn't know about this, right? So what you can do, so most of these hotels have free cancellation if you cancel maybe 3 or 5 days before your arrival date, right? And they can change your date for you for free. So if you realize that you want to cancel a day before and you can't, just tell them to please change your date and move it 1 week ahead. And once they agree to change your date, then you cancel. Then you can cancel for free.
Because then the free cancellation still
Kicks in.
stands.
Yeah,
They have
so
extended
exactly.
your date.
So because you're cancelling before, but don't tell them that I told you, you understand? But just do it.
One of the things that we made sure we looked out for was that all the apartments that we booked were close to the city attraction centers that we wanted to visit, so that we could walk from our apartment to those places. And I know walking was good, right? It helped us to exercise because we're eating so much ice cream and all of those stuff.
But there are times where like these apartments get very, very expensive very quickly, especially like in the peak periods like midsummer, and then it's not practical, especially if you want to have fun, right? You want to spend some time in the city, so you may want to think about the cost benefits of getting an apartment that is farther from the sites that you want to visit, and either using taxi or like we did when we went to Portugal and even in France, just go for a rental. If you can drive stick or you drive automatic.
So you mean a car rental, right?
Yes, just go for a rental. Rent a car, Enterprise, RVs. And the options are always there. They are very close to the airport, or even like you can just Google them, right? Get a car rental. You can use your license, right? You don't even need that international license. They don't even take that one.
You can use your Nigerian.
Yeah, so far you have
license.
a license that is not expired. I use my Nigerian license. I use it in Portugal to rent for like 2 weeks. Use it in France or through working for your graduation self, And then that's one hack. So you have to compare the two, right? Is it better for me to drive in this city or take Uber with a cheaper accommodation, or would it be better for me to stay in the city center and just walk out and go to those sites? So you decide, right? It's up to you, whatever works for you. So finally, some extras, right? We're just going to add little tips here and there that you need to be aware. The first one is about parking.
Yeah.
You're the champion for that.
So for me, what I learned from our trip was, first of all, to pack light. Secondly, if I'm to do this again, I'm going to go with one big suitcase that will keep all of my things, including my laptop bag and my handbag. And then I'll have a small pouch that I could tie around my waist, where I'll keep my mobile phone, my wallet, and some little essential stuff.
So one big suitcase, in our words, she means that big enough to carry her things, but small enough to be hand luggage if you're going to fly. Right, something that is portable.
Yeah, something that you do not need to check in if you're going to fly.
Right.
And it means that you also need to be mindful of things that cannot pass through security checks.
Like perfumes, you just want to keep it to like 50 ml.
Yeah.
And one thing that was important for me, because I was working when we were traveling, right? So I was like a nomadic worker traveler situation. So I would always try to travel because we were also traveling by train. I pick my travel days on a day that I don't have a lot of meetings because I'll be working in the train as well. So not having a lot of meetings is polite to the other person on the other end when you're going to have meetings in the train and you have all this train thing on the background.
Noise.
The noise, yeah.
The real noise.
Yeah.
So basically, we picked days that you had no meetings and
Yeah.
also on weekends. So
Yeah,
those
weekend
were
and-
how we planned our travel
Yeah.
days.
Then you also want to think about sometimes if you have any little change, you may just book like premium
That's very
class in
important.
the train,
Yeah.
because especially if you
Premium
really
or
want
first
to work.
class in the train. Very comfortable.
So I think that's all. So we'd like to hear from you. If you have any more questions, something we didn't cover, like drop it down in the comments.
Yeah.
Let us hear what you think. Ask us anything. I'll be glad to let you know.
Yeah, so then we are going to do a series of this Euro trip. We will talk specifically about different cities we went to and what we did, restaurants we went to, all
Yeah.
of that.
The
And
attractions
then
and the
we
sights to
would
see.
also maybe talk specifically about things like
How to rent a car,
How
the
to
things
rent
to
a
look
car.
out for. I mean, that's puzzling for a lot of people, but it's very, very straightforward. Like, so yeah, so be on the lookout, and we please like, subscribe, leave a comment, let us share this thing, and help us by liking and subscribing. You're helping the YouTube algorithm to promote this video to reach out to many more people. So thank you for watching. If you've made it this far, we love you.